I tell people that that is the secret to success in the 21st century. Because look, you have the internet, you have this wealth of knowledge at your disposal. The future is in taking all of that and combining them into something different that no one has thought of before.
That was from my interview with bestselling author Robert Greene, and we'll hear the rest of his take later. But there is this popular saying that I found extremely misleading: Jack of all trades, master of none. Does that mean that Da Vinci was not a master? How about Michelangelo, or Aristotle, Seneca, or Galileo? Because all of them were polymaths. Specialization is something relatively new. Yes, some people are built to be specialists, but a lot of knowledge workers are not built that way. A lot of people around me have broad interests and want to experiment outside of their main career, but they either lack the courage or the drive to do it. And this is what I want to share in this video: a practical guide to becoming a modern Renaissance man. I'm going to share with you how I taught myself a plethora of skills, from dancing to filmmaking to storytelling, editing, social skills, and even lifting weights. And lastly, we'll hear more from Robert Greene on how to build a successful career as a modern polymath. Historically, a Renaissance man was someone who has a rounded approach to education. A gentleman during the Renaissance era was expected to speak several languages, play an instrument, write poetry, and so on. And Leonardo da Vinci embodied the Renaissance man, someone with an unquenchable curiosity and a very inventive imagination. The Renaissance man sought to develop his abilities in different areas: intellectual, artistic, social, physical, and spiritual. And that way of life was the default for specific social classes until the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Adam Smith, in The Wealth of Nations, basically invented or advocated for the division of labor, breaking down work into specific tasks and allocating these tasks to specialized individuals to increase productivity. This will in turn increase economic growth. That's when we enter the era of specialization, which worked, of course. We are richer and more prosperous than ever. And work has continued to be broken down into even more specific tasks and specialties. And it didn't stop at the pin factory. Knowledge work has been broken down as well. We ended up with a multitude of professions, from the doctor to the engineer, the lawyer, the banker. And today, even within my specialty, which is tech sales, we have even more specialized teams. The ones who prospect new customers, the ones who upsell existing customers. And the positive side of specialization is you can get really, really good at that specific task. Being an expert in that skill makes you more valuable on the market. You can ask for a higher compensation and become more desirable for potential employers. But it comes with some fragility. It's good to have more than one profession, in case your current one goes out of style. In this fast-moving world, you never know when your whole industry or profession will disappear. So besides the self-actualization aspect of being a polymath, there is an existential and a risk management aspect to it as well. What kind of skills can you acquire today outside of your profession that will make you more robust? Let's take the example of the most notable polymath, probably in history, Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci was known to having a natural curiosity that drove him to study broad and different fields. He truly believed in the interconnectedness of all fields and knowledge. He studied anatomy by dissecting animals. He studied art during his apprenticeship under Andrea del Verrocchio. He conducted experiments to test his different hypotheses. Now it can seem absolutely impossible to conduct such a generalist approach today. You need to pay rent, and if you're ambitious, you want to stay on top of your industry to earn more money. There is this constant fear of becoming obsolete or unemployable, and it's completely understandable. But the problem is, our modern era is suffocating a lot of people who are not born to be specialists. So we end up with more specialists than we need and lacking polymaths. Most people completely identify with their profession and do not dare to venture outside of that box. They even dress the same, talk the same, and even have the same hobbies and interests, if they have any, outside of their job. Personally, after my first year in sales, I did not want to be like those people. Even though I'm successful at my profession, I always had this urge to explore different interests. And one of the first ones was to build my social skills. Growing up, I was an introvert, and if you want to learn more about that journey, I'll invite you to watch my first video on social skills. I wanted to become more comfortable socially, generating interesting conversations with strangers, make new friends in Paris, and meet girls. There was also this existential urge for me to explore an artistic outlet. I always was fascinated by dancers. As a teenager, I used to spend hours watching Michael Jackson on stage. I used to dance when going out at night, but nothing really serious. So I decided to join an actual urban dancing studio here in Paris. So once a week, I will go to the class, learn from the best, break down choreographies, practice at home, and after 5 years of practice, I can confidently dance an advanced choreography today. When the pandemic hit, with nothing to do besides remote work, had this pull to start writing. I like to read a lot, so I started a blog to share whatever ideas I'm learning from the books I read. I learned how to write, I learned marketing and branding on how to promote my blog. I got interested in different subjects. I started reading about advertising, psychology, biology, philosophy. I just followed my genuine curiosity. Then I became interested in media and social media. So I started a YouTube channel and studied different social media platforms, and my writing skills that I learned running a blog helped me write scripts and content. I taught myself filmmaking, editing, storytelling, and speaking in front of a camera. I had a French TikTok account that I grew to almost 100,000 followers, and my French YouTube channel that I grew to 13,000 subscribers. But then I wanted to reach a wider audience and switch to English last year. I learned how to network with high-profile individuals and work with best-selling author Jay Samit. Physically, even though I was already lifting weights, I took it more seriously about 2 years ago. In my main career, I was promoted to manage the sales team, and I learned and studied leadership. Now at 29, I can feel that I broadened my skill set in different areas of life, and it completely shaped my character. I gained in maturity and experience by going through the pain of learning something new every time. And in our digital era, being a polymath opens new doors and opportunities. And Robert Greene explains it very well.
I only was good at writing, so I know my limitations. I'm not going to be good at football. I can't dance very well. The only thing I've ever been good at, if I'm even good at that, is writing. So I specialized. But within that framework, I tried a million different things, right? I experimented, I had fun. I learned about the business world. I learned about ugly politics. I learned about point of view of migrant workers in another country doing construction work. I read a lot of history. And then I was a very good researcher. So a lot of my jobs, the way I made money in Hollywood as I failed as a writer, was being hired to research television or film projects. I learned in Hollywood how to make things dramatic, how to write a story. So the 48 Laws of Power has all of these stories in them. I tell people that that is the secret to success in the 21st century. Because look, you have the internet. You have this wealth of knowledge at your disposal. The future is in taking all of that and combining them into something different that no one has thought of before, that reflects you and your own specialness, your own weirdness, but that combines this, and this. And that's where power lies.
I just finished reading The Sovereign Artist by fellow creator Vizi Andre, and his take on leisure definitely resonated with me. Vizi explains that we live in an era of mass-manufactured leisure. People think that rest means watching Netflix or scrolling through TikTok, but that's not what leisure meant in the past. That's an endless, passive pursuit of dopamine. Historically, people spent their leisure time reading, pursuing artistic expression, physical activity, or debating a specific subject. Rockefeller, probably the richest man in history, used to find the time to mill about in his garden. Benjamin Franklin used to read and write and socialize with people. Today, leisure time has been corrupted. There is prepackaged entertainment ready to be sold to you by corporations. They basically decide what to put in your brain. Nothing wrong with Netflix or Instagram, of course, in moderation. But to become a modern polymath, a renaissance man, you need to become very conscious of your leisure time. That's when the seeds are planted for quality work, especially if you have a main profession. You basically have a few hours a day, at best, and the weekends, to explore your interests. As Vizi puts it, the quality of your leisure predicts the quality of your work. What are you learning? What are you exploring and pursuing during your free time? And by the way, it can be anything, and it should be idiosyncratic, unique to you and your interests and your composition. Scott Adams, the famous cartoonist and author, he explains how he was not the greatest artist, but had good drawing skills. He was not the best comedian, but had good humor. He was not the best businessman, but had good enough business acumen. He failed at a lot of corporate jobs, but witnessed the reality of corporate America. All of these seemingly disconnected experiences gave birth to his most successful project, Dilbert. So as aspiring, modern, polymath, and Renaissance men, let's read, let's learn new skills diligently. Let's lift heavy weights and live different experiences and let it all make sense afterwards. As Robert Greene says, plant the seeds and let your subconscious make the connections later. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next video.